Hi, everybody. It's Elizabeth from Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Happy holidays if you celebrate in December to everyone. So this month of December 2025, which I'll be covering in this video, covers two moons. There's a full moon in Gemini and a new moon in Sagittarius. Plus, we also have Mercury going out of shadow during this time period, right mid-month. So as usual, I'm going to go over an intro of the different transits and aspects and moons, and then I'll go on to the latter part of this video to cover your individual signs, whether it's your ascendant and or sun. I suggest you listen or watch both. So we're going to start off here with a full moon in Gemini. This is going to be at 13 Gemini, 3 minutes on the 4th of December, and it will be at 3:13 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The sun and the moon will be square the north nodes. So this kind of puts a little bit of a challenge here with regards to us wanting to move forward with our destiny path. I suspect this may work out on the world stage where, because the moon and the sun are opposite each other, they're already, not necessarily in conflict, but they're opposing each other and saying, I think this, you think that. And square in the north nodes is saying we're not on the same page with regards to our destiny path. And certainly Gemini is all about communications. It rules other things too, like short distance travel. But generally speaking, I'm going to say that whatever communications are being put out, especially on the world stage, they're not dovetailing with each of the separate parties. And that's what I would say is a dominating theme here. There's going to have to be some compromise, right? Now, when we look at the decan that moon is in Gemini, the full moon, it is in the second decan. And of course, the second decan of air signs is going to be Libra from Gemini. And of course, Venus rules Libra. So Venus has a little bit of a part to play here. And I think it's a nice influence because, as I've said before, Venus likes to take the rough edges off things. It likes to have good manners. It likes to be polite. And it likes things sweet. It is also an attractor. So to me, this is saying, again, on that world stage, this Venus can make things nicer. So it's like, yeah, we're not agreeing here on things. And maybe it's contracts. Maybe at a personal level, it's contracts. But that Venus is going to say, we can compromise. Let's compromise here. Let's talk about it. Let's add a little bit of sweetness. Let's respect each other. And certainly Gemini is what's called a mutable sign, just as Sagittarius is mutable. So it kind of sets up the whole month of at least potential for cooperation or changing your mind. Now, we have Mercury in Scorpio. It will be widely trining Jupiter in Cancer. And that's actually really nice too. Now, we do have Mercury that is going direct now. It's not out of shadow yet at this full moon, but it is moving forward. And I think trining Jupiter, here I think Jupiter is going to be expanding whatever message that Mercury is bringing at that full moon. And it could be secrets because Mercury is in Scorpio. Scorpio is the natural detective. It's what is hidden. I think those are going to be brought to light. Now, that Jupiter in Cancer can represent what? It can represent, on an individual level, our family, our mother, literally our homeland and our home. So these may be subjects that are brought up and brought to light. Out of the darkness comes that candle lighting things up. Now, the other player here is Mars. Mars is going to be square to Saturn. And that kind of reinforces what I talked at the beginning here of this full moon, of the moon and the sun square in the north nodes. That Mars wants to move forward with something. And the rules and regulations, or those that hold the rules and regulations, are saying not right now. This equates to a delay in moving forward. We have nicely in the background, Uranus is sextiling Neptune, and Neptune is sextiling Pluto. Now, these outer planets are going to be, playing out in the background in one way or another over the next few years. And it's positive, right? Sextiles brings opportunities. And when we have trines just makes energy flowing. So this is really saying at this full moon, even though there may be some differences to overcome and some compromises to make, we've got going on in the background. As we do that, things will have the opportunities to build to help transform our lives. Part of that transformation may be some new, inroads into forms of technology, like how we communicate. It could even be, things above the earth, where we talk about, the solar system is somehow brought in here as well. But certainly Neptune is being featured here by sextile. And Neptune at its highest wants to make our dreams come true. It inspires us. And so I think with the background here of that going on, it says to me, compromise is important at this full moon, but also understanding what you're getting into with regards to communications. And of course, that can spell out contracts. It can spell out to anything to do with a lease, say, that you're taking. And certainly on a world stage, this could be treaties and things like that. Now, on the 9th of December, again, we've got Mars featured here, still square to Saturn. But then Mars is going to be squaring up with Neptune on the 14th of December. So this kind of says to me, again, there's these delays happening up here to mid-month. And maybe it's telling us, let's think this through a little bit more. Let's not be rash, that's for sure. If you are feeling this overwhelming, I've got to move forward with whatever it is, and the moving forward may be to break the rules, I would think twice about that. Now, certainly Mars square Neptune can be a difficult transit, and this can be real deception here. And that's on the 14th of December. Expect that to play out on the world stage for sure. And the other thing that Mars can do, it can be a very aggressive energy, right? Smashing our dreams. Neptune, right? That's at Mars square Neptune. Or what we thought was real, right? Which is, more the Saturn part of it. That's the Mars square Saturn, isn't. So it's this combination of here between the 9th and the 14th of December to pay attention to what you want to move forward with, or where you're being really encouraged to move forward with something, but you're either being stopped, someone's stopping you, or you look at rules and regulations or check in with those that have the authority or to move forward with things. And it says there's going to be a delay here. I would say if that is happening for you, try to understand what the delay is. Dig into what are these rules and regulations? Why is the delay happening? And like I said, we've got this whole 2 moons that are in mutual type energies. So it's the ability to bend here is there all month. When we come up to the 16th of December, well, that is when Mercury is officially out of shadow. And that's going to be at 6 Sagittarius, 49 minutes, at 7:13 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, what's nice in this is that we're going to have a grand trine. And the grand trine is with the moon, which is at 23 Scorpio, with 23 Cancer is going to be the Jupiter part of it. And then that is going to be trining Saturn, which is in Pisces. So this says grand trine in water signs. So certainly this is an emotional time, the 16th of December. But it's also a time when I feel that we're going to literally be feeling things. And I think this feeling is going to be an optimism. And I refer to optimism because this Mercury is going out of shadow at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a very optimistic sign. So I feel here that this is a good feeling time once we have this Mercury now out of shadow with that grand trine in water. The only thing is that, we can be a little too emotional. But this is a trine, a grand trine. And so it is free-flowing energy, beautiful energy here. When we look at the 19th of December, well, we've got that new moon in Sagittarius. 28 Sagittarius, 25 minutes. And it is at 5:44 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it will be conjuncting Mars, which will be out of sign and will be at 3 degrees of Capricorn. So this is just adding a lot of energy. But, Mars in Capricorn can be considered energy, not, wow, let's move forward with this. So I think that Mars can temper any extreme optimism that some people might have, or a wish to, say, take a big risk. That Mars is going to weigh it up for you and say, is this the right time to do that? Have you, dotted your I's and crossed your T's? The ruler of this sign, of course, is Jupiter, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And at this time, Jupiter will be providing, it's a wide trine with Saturn that's still in Pisces. So that's a beautiful energy here. It's expanding the ability to put new rules in place, to maybe remove some things that were holding you back. That's also Saturn. And the square that we have that's happening with Saturn is going to be with Venus. Well, both Venus and Jupiter tend to be good feeling type energy planets. And so I think even with this Venus square Saturn, I think still Venus is going to be operating here to say, yeah, okay, so everything's not perfect, but there are some sweet spots here. So look for sweet spots at that new moon in Sagittarius. It could also be for those that are in, say, in early stages of a love relationship, there could be a delay, literally, or there could be a rethinking of a relationship here on a more personal level. On a more global level, the Venus could represent money. And so there may be the piper to pay here with regards to the square to Saturn. Mercury will also be forming a square at this new moon in Sagittarius with the North Node, Chiron, and North Node, and Chiron will be squaring Jupiter. And so this speaks to, the future of our health. And there's going to be some news about it. And this news may actually involve, foreign people and foreign things, more than just our own country, right? Yeah. Now, this new moon in Sagittarius is in a fire sign. So we look at what decan is it in. It is in the third decan. The third decan starts at what? 20 degrees. And the third decan is ruled by Leo, which is also a fire sign, of course. And that fire sign of Leo is ruled by the sun. And I really thought, and also at this time, obviously the sun is in Sagittarius along with the moon. So this says to me, this is a very optimistic overall new moon in Sagittarius. But I think also with that whole Leo influence and the sun ruling Leo, it says to me that some probably man of importance is going to be rising here and bringing us big optimism, maybe even more than one man. Now, this is, of course, Sagittarius or Sagittarius ascendant. This is your new moon of the year. So happy new year to you, Sagittarius. I saw this really as an overall, except for a few squeaks here and there, paying attention to, rules, regulations. It basically says to me this is going to be a big ushering in of an optimism that we haven't had for some time. On the 21st of December, we're going to have Venus in Sagittarius squaring Saturn. Now, we talked about that already. I don't see this as a really negative thing. I think it's just saying, on a personal level, this is just saying, hold your horses. Just look carefully at what? Look carefully at spending money. This is just before Christmas for some people. Look carefully with regards to maybe a love situation that you're in. And look carefully at your value and maybe even at an internal level of, am I valuing myself enough? Am I being too hard on myself? Now, the Venus in Sagittarius really is a lovely influence with regards to potentially giving us great optimism with regards to money, maybe wanting to spend money. So when we look at this chart here for the winter solstice for 2025, it occurs on the 21st of December at 7:03 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Of course, this is when the sun is at 0 degrees of Capricorn and 0 minutes. Now, accompanying this sun going into the sign of Capricorn, we have two other planets and luminary that are also in Capricorn. We have Mars at 4 degrees of Capricorn within orb of that sun. Now, the positive part of this is that Mars, planet of action, movement forward, in Capricorn, has some momentum that is measured. So that's what Capricorn does. It'll slow this down a little bit, the actual Mars effect, and have some conservative type energy put into the mix. Accompanying that, although not conjunct, is the moon, also in conservative Capricorn. And so this can certainly make our feelings more conservative, have us take a more measured view of how we react to things. This effect will last approximately 3 months or so until we get to our next type of energy, where the sun will actually go into Aries and start the whole cycle all over again. Negatively, we have got this sun at 0 degrees of Capricorn square to Neptune, which is at 29 degrees and 24 minutes of Pisces. So this says to me that there may be some information from, say, our news outlets that is just not true, that is being covered up, that there's some kind of shadiness going on, and that we have to look carefully at anything that's put in front of us in terms of, say, newspapers, anything on the internet, because it could be leading us down to a confusion or some kind of deception. So overall, I see this winter solstice as more of a conservative type energy that's being given out here, and more measured in terms of how we want to move forward with things. And don't forget that Saturn does rule Capricorn, and that Saturn represents rules and regulations. So it does say paying attention to rules and regulations also during this time period of about 3 months from the 21st of December. Now, a few days later, on the 24th of December, that Venus, still in Sagittarius, will be square Neptune. It could have us saying, gee, I really want to, be inspired by some maybe sparkly bauble of some sort, but you don't have the money there. So I guess if you're listening to this early on, say in November when I'm making this, there is a little bit of a cautionary tale with regards to money, generally speaking, and being careful about spending it wisely. I guess that's just the overall thing. So, hey, look at what money you have. Look at what money you have in December and how you're going to spend it. That's how I would take those squares with Venus, by the way. Now, the 25th of December, and for some folks, that is going to be Christmas Day, we have Mercury that is going to be an optimistic Sagittarius. But we're also going to have a big influence of Capricorn. So tempering this optimism is also going to be this Capricorn, which is more conservative. So I think 25th of December is going to bring great optimism with regards to any changes that we might need to make, or any changes that are happening in structures around us, whether that's structures in our government, structures in what we deal with day to day. There's certainly going to be a sense of I feel better here. And this is the second time I'm saying we're going to feel better. First one was at the new moon in Sagittarius on the 19th of December. On the 25th, we're going to have another infusion, right, of that optimism, that things for our future are going to get and are better. When we take a January 2026 peak, we're going to have a full moon in Cancer, a new moon in Capricorn. And what's interesting to me is that we're going to have this interesting setup where 0 degrees of Aquarius and 3 degrees of Aquarius are going to be featured with regards to the interpersonal planets. I'll talk about that more in January, but the latter half of January 2026 could have some really big breakthrough energy, because Aquarius, of course, is about freedom seeking. It's all about humanitarian things, but it's all supportive here. And so there could be some big turnaround the latter half of January. Talk about that more next month. And we're also going to have, at that time in January, Neptune will officially go for some years into Aries, another big shift, right? It's taking our dreams at the very least and going with what we want. What are our dreams? And saying, let me move forward with my dreams, right? The me, my is the Aries part of it. And of course, the Neptune is our dreams. So let's move on now to the individual sun signs and or ascendants. As I mentioned, I would look or listen to rather, or watch for both. Start off with your ascendant if that resonates with you. That gives you the actual house or the area of your life. Then listen to the sun sign. That just gives you a little bit more information with regards to maybe some of the more details. The sun is the most important thing in any chart. So Sagittarius, that full moon that is in Gemini is, of course, opposite to your sign. So that features your 7th house. That means what? It means that partnerships, business partnerships, marriage partnerships, clients, or any other person, typically this would be somebody that you have an agreement with or a contract with, is going to be highlighted here for you, right? So how could this play out? Well, the full moon in Gemini stresses for sure communications of any sort. But there are other things that Gemini represents too. It could be a writing project. Maybe you're involved in collaborating with a partner, a business partner, or even a client in a writing project, and it's featured at this time. Maybe it being featured at this time means you wrap it up. You say, okay, we've done all we can do on this writing project. Let's say it's done. This can also bring in an ending of some sort with regards to maybe a client base. So there may be some Sagittarius that decide, I want to mix this up. I would like to have my market segment in a different area of my life regarding clients. And this is where you end whatever it is. Now, this could play out as maybe you were involved in a business partnership and you've got this great offer to go into a corporate company, and you decide to end a partnership in business at this time too. Certainly Sagittarius is going to be featured as well, because you've got Mars in Sagittarius, your sign, Sagittarius. And that's going to be for the first 2 weeks of December. So with that combination of the full moon and then the Mars in your sign, Sagittarius, it says lots of action coming your way here, right? Lots of movement forward. Now, the movement forward with Mars in your sign, Sagittarius, could be movement forward or a big highlight or ending regarding maybe travel. Maybe you've been traveling and something ends at this point for you, right? Or maybe you start travel, you end the planning and you say, okay, I can now take my travel. Legal matters are also featured when we talk about the Mars in Sagittarius. They could speed up or become very pushy from the standpoint of you got to get on with it, maybe handle some legal matters that are really important, that may actually involve your partnerships or clients, right? Still talking about that full moon in Gemini here. But certainly you're going to be very active, Sagittarius, the first 2 weeks. Expect to be doing a lot of moving around and, hopefully not barking orders, but maybe giving orders. But some Sagittarians may be just finishing off some travel here of some sort. Others may be, Sagittarius can also represent higher learning. And certainly that could be something where there's some action taken with regards to either starting an advanced degree or maybe even finishing an advanced degree under the auspices of the full moon. Now we look at your new moon, Sagittarius. So happy new year to all my Sagittarian clients as well as viewers. This features your first house. The first house is everything about you and everything around you. Now, you're going to have a Venus that's going to be in Sagittarius from about the 1st to the 24th of December. So this is potentially attracting in sweet things for you, positive things for you. And in Sagittarius, it definitely has to do with, say, travel. It has to do with maybe legal matters. Higher education. But at its real highest, Sagittarius does say meaning in life. So there's going to be those some Sagittarians at their new moon where they really get this feeling of they've got meaning in their life, or they make a decision to seek that out or try to attract that in, because that Venus in Sagittarius is there for almost the whole month. And we have Mercury also in Sagittarius from the 12th to the 31st of December. Yeah, so this is bringing in communications of some sort for you, right? Now, the big theme may be something to do with foreign people and foreign things, right? That's definitely Sagittarius. And or travel of some sort. There may just be some Sagittarians at this new moon that say, I really want to take this big trip, or I really want to go somewhere, overseas. And you get the support of the money coming in, that's the Venus, and Mercury, where communications are now flowing, where once it looked like you couldn't do it, now it looks like that you can do it. So this is very, very positive energy for you. It's a really good new moon for you. Let me just take a look at my chart again, Sagittarius, just to take a look at some other things here. Yeah, you've got also, Jupiter, which rules your sign, Sagittarius, nicely trining Saturn. So it's like the rules and regulations go your way. You're favored by superiors above you, that type of thing. Yeah, if we look at the lineup, I'm looking at this chart and you can see it yourself up here. But look at all the different things that are in Sagittarius. Let's go through them. We have Mercury, Venus, Juno. Now, Juno is the asteroid of marriage, so it does kind of nicely support a marriage type situation. And that is conjunct both the sun and moon at that new moon at 28 Sagittarius. So it's a lovely lineup of positive energy. And then, like I said, with the Mars just into Capricorn, Mars is more conservative with what action do you want to take. Yeah, the only thing that you've got as a square that stands out for me is you're going to have Mercury in Sagittarius at almost 11 degrees of Sagittarius, and that will be squaring the north nodes. So this could be that you have some challenge with regards to where you want to go for your future and your destiny that you have to handle. And I would say, let's go back to me talking about that this whole month is dominated by sort of a mutual type energy, a bending, mutable energy, where as long as you bend a little bit and compromise, things can go your way. Take care, Sagittarius. So Capricorn, that full moon in Gemini falls in your 6th house. And so this is bringing a big spotlight to probably one of two things. It can put an end, if that's what you want, to say a job that you're doing. Maybe the job that you're doing involves some writing project or some kind of big communications. And the communications can be something like, putting together a network of some sort behind the scenes for your company, say. And this could be something as simple as you're wrapping it up. Okay, I've finished putting this network together. I've finished the writing project that I was given. And don't forget, this writing project doesn't have to be a big tome of some sort. It could be an SOP or a series of SOPs that you're putting together, or guidance of some sort, right? Certainly with the Gemini part, it really emphasizes communications here of some sort for you, Capricorn. Now, the other thing that the 6th house represents is, of course, your health. And if we talk about the fact that the luminaries at this time of the full moon will have the moon in your 6th house, but the sun will be in your 12th house. And the 12th house is hospitals as one place, one hidden place. It can also be government offices, it can be ashrams, that type of thing. And so to me, this could also feature your health, where maybe something is brought up to light regarding your health. And you say, I've got to take care of this. I'm thinking the other thing, I just got this as an intuition, there may be some folks that just had some labs done. That would be the 12th house where the sun is at this full moon in Gemini. And the lab sends back values back to your GP. GP contacts you and says, you're low in these areas or you're high in these areas. We suggest you do this and this. And it's just a little bit of a tap on the shoulder, a wake-up call, where you say, wow, yeah, maybe I need to take whatever it is. You're low in folic acid or something like that, or B12. And it's suggested that you maybe need to take those and maybe in the future get another lab test done. But it could also just be you, Capricorn, saying, yeah, I'm in the normal range for that lab value, but I could do better than that. And you decide to change up your, as maybe part of your New Year resolutions, change up the way you take care of your health. Now, I always say, don't forget, we're talking about your mental health too. And I always say this when 6th house, especially is aspected by a full moon. It could be the tap on your shoulder, Capricorn, is you're working too hard. Capricorns are very hard workers, along with Virgos. So this is the end of the year. Maybe you're really exhausted, and maybe you need to take a rest. That's where the sun is, right? The sun in that 12th house is activating an idea about maybe you just need to take a rest. And maybe if you're listening to this in November, you say, yeah, that's a really good idea. I know I'm going to get a couple days off at Christmas, but why don't I take the whole week off? I could use a mental rest here. And there will be some Capricorns that certainly will do that. Now that new moon in Sagittarius will be in your 12th house. So now it won't be just the sun that's there, Capricorn. It's going to be the moon there as well. So it's some kind of new start that the universe is asking you to make. The new start could be, say at that full moon, you do say, I need to take a rest. I'm going to take a week off around Christmas time. And that week off involves you going to maybe a health spa of some sort, an ashram, or something similar where you are taken away from your normal day-to-day life of working, and you're put in a completely different environment. And that's what you do. You book something for you to go, maybe overseas. This is Sagittarius, right? So these are foreign places, foreign countries. And certainly there's a lot of different astrology conferences as well as yoga retreats that are going on overseas, like in Bali as well as India around this time. Might be worth looking at for some Capricorns as a way to get away from it all, right? And rest up. Now you're going to have the sun going into your sign, Capricorn, around the 22nd of December, featuring you. You're also going to have Mars go into Capricorn the 16th to the 31st of December. So here, Capricorn, we're looking at the latter half of December being quite active for you. It's also a time, maybe you do need to initiate some things, whatever they are. That Mars in your sign is going to support you. But certainly it's going to make you more active, right? The only caution I always say with Mars in your sign is don't get too excited about things. Don't lash out. It doesn't mean you're going to do that. More than likely, you're just going to have a lot of activity the latter half of December. And that could equate to, of course, a busy Christmas time, a busy New Year's Eve. Maybe you're going to be busy putting things together for your family and friends. Take care, Capricorn. So Aquarius, that full moon in Gemini trines you, right? So that's positive energy being beamed your way, and it's your 5th house that's featured here. Wow. So this is a wrap-up. This is a big spotlight being shone on your 5th house, but in a positive way. What could that bring up? Well, we've got the influence of Gemini here, which is all about communications, writing, etc. There's going to be some Aquarians that tie up some creative project. That creative project may be a writing project. But it could just as equally be a communication project where you're literally putting down maybe some guidance with regards to how we communicate, how you're supposed to communicate, say, in your own business or, say, in your corporate business. And it's wrapped up at this time. There may be other Aquarians that give birth at this time. That trine is fully supportive with the 5th house of children. Others may do some kind of adjustment or decision to end some part of a love relationship. Now, this end could be that you make a decision that you're going to be exclusive with somebody. Don't forget, this is a trine. It is not a square or an opposition. So it does favorably support if that's something you and your partner decide you are aiming for. That full moon in Gemini could really be supportive for saying, let's be exclusive. We're going to leave our singlehood behind. But it could just in some way feature this new love in your life in a very positive way for some reason. It's also a time for having fun. And with Gemini, Gemini likes to be, the social butterfly. So that full moon could bring in a slew of invitations to attend parties and have some fun. When we look at that new moon in Sagittarius, well, that sextiles your sign, Aquarius, and involves your 11th house. This typically is going to bring in new friends for you. Maybe new unusual friends, maybe new friends that are foreign because it's Sagittarius. But certainly it's going to bring in opportunities to form relationships that may actually influence your future in a positive way, Aquarius. Because, Sagittarian does also, in many ways, look to the future, right? It can also give you the opportunity, say, to get involved in other groups. In fact, if you're thinking of joining groups, that new moon would be the perfect time to do it. Or even if you're being asked, say, to head up a group of some sort, this could bring that in for you too. And certainly for those Aquarians that have their own business, this is a beautiful lineup where you could be very optimistic for money coming in for you. or at least your vision can see, looking at everything in front of you, that you have a vision for more money coming your way through your own business. Now, all of December, Pluto will be staying at approximately 2 degrees of Aquarius. So, we're really looking at the fact that those folks that either have their ascendant or their sun, or maybe a conglomeration of planets around 2 degrees, there could be a big push here with regards to transformation, wherever that falls. Now, if this, just by chance, your ascendant is around 2 degrees of Aquarius, this is going to bring in some real energy to transform you. Now, I always say that Pluto can bring in energy that asks you to let go of things. It doesn't bring it in suddenly like Uranus would, but don't forget that Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. But generally speaking, you get advance notice. So there's going to be some Aquarians that have this 2 degree mark featured in their chart, where they're going to be given notice of, you've got to change this, you've got to let this go. If you want to keep this in your life, it has to transform into something. I would say just listen to those whisperings and ask yourself, how can I participate in this instead of some outward force coming in to change it for you? Because Pluto will do that. Now, you also have the influence of all those Sagittarian planets. So we're talking about Mars, Venus, and Mercury, certainly like for the first couple weeks of December. And Sagittarius sextiles your sign, Aquarius. So, this could be a really positive. Friends could be very active in your life because this falls in your 11th house, of course. It's not just the new moon, the moon and the sun. The first half, basically, of December, you have Mars there too. That's action. Venus and Mercury. There could also be some folks that find females are important for them for some reason. For others, it might be males. But I think making new friends is really emphasized here, especially the first couple weeks that lead into that new moon in Sagittarius, where it really supports making new friends here. But you could just be doing some kind of communications. For those that do have their own business, Sagittarius or Aquarians that have their own business, this could just be a lot of activity and communicating with foreign people regarding maybe setting up your own business or aspects of your own business with a foreign element here, right? Take care, Aquarius. So Pisces, both the full moon and the new moon square your sign. They square different houses, but, accompanying those squares, you also have some other significant things happening in your sign. And don't forget these. Saturn will be in your sign at about 25 degrees of Pisces and Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. So although it's wide, Saturn and Neptune are conjuncting in your sign, Pisces. And so this is saying, where are your hopes, dreams, and wishes? Where are they? I say you can make those hopes, dreams, and wishes come true for yourself. Now, it may not be to February that you can, make an initiative on a new road, maybe even pioneer something, when we have both Saturn and Neptune at that time in Aries permanently for at least a few years. But these squares of the moons this month, Pisces, just say to me, I see this as, that yellow that goes before the stop, where the yellow is saying caution. I'm getting that with both these squares. So December says it's just a cautionary moment here for you to consider things. So let's dive into some of the things that you need to consider that may provide challenges. But my feeling is, as you overcome the challenges, you're going to potentially really see and be inspired by your dreams, hopes, and wishes, because you're going to be supported with Saturn and Neptune in your sign in December. So that full moon in Gemini squares you, and it squares your 4th house. So what this says to me is that some kind of communications that you're dealing with regards to your family, perhaps even with your mother, maybe even your home. So all of these areas can be featured, or one of them. But in Gemini, it's all about communications. So certainly contracts, make sure contracts are spelled out and that you understand them clearly. Understand any communications that either you're giving or that you're receiving. It doesn't mean this is all you, right? It could be, but it could be other people. Say your family is sending communications to you that either you're misinterpreting or you're interpreting as negative. I would say, because we have this whole mutable energy with both the moons being in Gemini and Sagittarius, there is room for negotiations the whole month. So remember that. Bend a little and you could get a lot. The other thing that I could see happening here is, because we've got the influence of Saturn here drawn in your sign, I'm thinking that for those that are trying to buy a home or sell a home, make sure you're following rules and regulations. Make sure you're checking, has there been a change to the rules and regulations in buying or selling a home that I don't know about, or that my real estate agent hasn't said to me or doesn't know herself or himself. I'm just getting that as an intuition too for those that are involved buying and selling houses. But I'm thinking most of all, this is going to be communications with your family. Maybe there's going to be some disagreements about where do we have Christmas this year, right? So we're talking about December, or whatever other holiday that you might be celebrating. Again, a little bit of bending is going to go a long way here. Now, we look at that new moon in Sagittarius, which is a very positive new moon, fully supportive here, right? We have it square your 10th house. And I would say that your career, your reputation, or your social standing has some little bit of a challenge or block for some reason. And it could be the block is with regards to something like your future. Sagittarius is very future oriented, but Sagittarius is also to do with legal matters too. It can be publishing. It could be higher education, travel. I'm thinking with that full moon in Gemini, maybe you wrapped up some writing project, Pisces, and those above you are saying, it's not quite right, and you take great offense to it. And you look at it and say, well, what can I do here? So the challenge to you is, if this is your case, that you've got a writing, and it doesn't have to be a big book, it could be anything that you're writing. Maybe those above you say, not quite sure we like it the way it is. Well, don't take it as something offensive. Just say, okay, well, how can I change this to make it better? That could be the biggest thing you have to do, Pisces. And you do it. But know by doing it, that's going to support you in whatever you want to do in your future with regards to your hopes, dreams, and wishes. There's a tie in here with your hopes, dreams, and wishes, Pisces, and you overcoming some challenge. As I said, and I'm repeating myself, these are mutable energies that are around right now with the moons. Take advantage of them, bend a little, and as you bend a little too, you can also say to the other person or other party, I'll bend, but I'd like you to bend too, right? A win-win situation. For others, it might just be that final step of going into a new career, that you've got to take a certification. Or maybe you've got to take some kind of test that's tied in with the legal part of the job you do. Others, this could just be you trying to set up travel and you're running into a little bit of, blockages of some sort. Just keep at it and know that it can happen. It can happen. It can come true. Yeah, and I mean, Jupiter is going to be in Cancer and it'll be trining your fifth house favorably too at this time, Pisces. So certainly if there are some kind of creative projects, creative writing projects or something like that, you're still going to have great support with Jupiter there trining your fifth house, right? Take care, Pisces. So Aries, this is a good setup for you this month. You have the full moon in Gemini sextile you, and it involves your third house. So this is opportunities to communicate. This might be a culmination for some Aries that you've been maybe working on improving your presentation skills. I've taken many of these courses, whether I wanted to or not. You always learn something with it. Where it's ending and you see that, okay, I don't have to take any more of this brushing up my presentation skills. I'm ready to go. And you get the opportunity to stop taking all this improvement. The other thing it can bring up as a literal translation is, for some Aries, you end some kind of writing project. Certainly that is very Gemini. You end negotiating a contract of some sort. It can also have you ending maybe some kind of negotiations with your siblings, with your neighbors. And it could be tied in with something like a contract or an agreement of some sort too. I mean, sales and commerce are also featured in the third house. So there'll be some Aries that are finishing off, setting up some sales and commerce type project too. For still others, it might be an opportunity for you to stop doing short distance travel. Maybe you're involved in sales or marketing and you're required to go around a certain geographical area. And they say you've got an opportunity here to stop that. Would you instead like to travel overseas now? And that ties into the new moon in Sagittarius, which trines your sign and trines the house that Sagittarius and Jupiter rule, which is the ninth house. So this is super positive for you, Aries. If you have to travel or you have to or want to do business overseas or work with foreign people around that 19th of December, when the new moon in Sagittarius happened, you are fully supported. And don't forget the first few weeks of December in that ninth house of yours, it's very active with both Mars, Venus, and Mercury in Sagittarius too. So I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of activity, maybe negotiations the first half of December for a lot of Aries. That'll follow up around the 19th, where those are concluded and a new start can happen with some connection with foreign people, some connection with overseas travel, and potentially some positive new start regarding legal matters, or if you're going into, say, get something published. That's also featured very positively here. So the publishing part of it could have the first half of December, you contacting different publishers. They're contacting you, you're back and forth, you're negotiating. And then finally at the new moon, around the 19th of December, a publisher comes through and says, all right, we can publish this. That is a positive outcome too. But you're set up nicely for communications, presenting, writing projects, working with foreign people, foreign lands in this month of December, Aries. Take care. So Taurus, that full moon in Gemini falls in your second house. Literally, this is going to have some Taurians starting a new job. Starting a new job that maybe involves communications of some sort. Maybe it involves writing. I mean, don't forget that full moon in Gemini, which is going to be around the 4th of December. That first part of December is going to have, 3 different planets actively activating your house, your opposite house to the second, which is the 8th house. So you're going to have in your 8th house, the first half of December, Mars, Venus, and Mercury. So to me, that's kind of supportive, the first half, where some new job could bring in maybe things like You get more being given to your 401k in terms of your contributions that the company you've joined with this new job is going to give you. Maybe even shares are going to come your way. It's fully supported, that full moon, for you to start a new job, Taurus, to get some real benefits regarding investments. And I've mentioned a few of them, but they could also be a pension goes with this too. Don't think this still can't happen. There are companies that still have pensions. You could have all that happening at that full moon around the 4th of December. So that's followed up, Taurus, by the new moon in Sagittarius, which is in your 8th house. So this puts a new start with the sun and the moon in your 8th house. Now, this could feature some Taurians deciding to retire. And that's your new start. Certainly, it would be very supportive at this time. You know, you spend that first half of December figuring it all out, and then you pull the trigger around the 19th of December at that new moon and say, you know, I've decided to retire, and you announce that. The other thing that could happen too is, you know, Sagittarius is a very optimistic and positive sign. This could just have you feeling optimistic, buoyant, positive about your future, because the 8th house also rules your psychological mind too. I mean, it also rules your sex life as well. So there may be some Taurians that have this activated because, you know, you've got the Mars, Venus, and Mercury there too. There could be a new partner come in for you that's of great benefit, that really sets you in a positive state of mind. Investments are featured, money is featured. Both the 2nd house and 8th house are money houses. New job brings in some kind of long-term money for you through investments, shares, pensions, benefits. It could just be straight off benefits, right? That help you with your future. Now, Taurus, you will have Uranus come back into your sign, but it's only going to be coming back, and it's going to stay actually till about April back in there. But let me just pick the degrees for you. It's just going to be in the latter degrees of Taurus. And let me just check out when that is. So yeah, certainly in November, we had it go to 29 degrees. But in December, we have Uranus retrograding back to around 28 degrees of Taurus. So you really do have to have something around that to have like maybe another change happen in your life. If you don't have anything around that, Taurus, you're not going to be affected. It goes to 27 in January, as well as February. That's 27 of Taurus. And then 27, 28 in March. And then Taurus, and then 29 most of April. But from the 27th of April onwards, it will be in Gemini for a number of years and will not retrograde back into Taurus. So you really have to have something between 27 and 29 degrees of Taurus to have that Uranus provide some more change. But for those that are waiting for change and freedom from something, know if you've got something around 27 to 28 Taurus, you've got still some things to happen that can free you, right? Uranus is all about freeing you from things that don't belong with you. Take care, Taurus. So Gemini, that full moon, of course, is in your sign and involves your 1st house. So Gemini, this is all either going to end something for you, whatever it is, because the 1st house is all about you, everything around you. It could come through a communication because Gemini does rule communications. So some communication coming your way or some communication that you give out could mark an ending to some part of your life that needs to end. But it could just put a big focus on you. You could be in focus for some reason. People could be talking about you. You could be socializing with a lot of people. Gemini is a very social sign. You could be doing a lot of, negotiating with people at this time too. Maybe negotiating for a new start in your life of some sort. Now, you're going to have, around that full moon that you have, Gemini, you're going to have, for the first couple of weeks, Mars, Venus, and Mercury all in Sagittarius in your opposite house. So while you're having this focus on you, there's also going to be a lot of activity over with partnerships. So this could be business partnerships. This could be potential marriage partnerships. Communications of some sort are activated here as well. But that area of your life is going to be busy as you have this full moon. So to me, I'm getting this picture of going back and forth with partnerships, clients, marriage partners at that full moon. Maybe you're negotiating something. Although the focus is going to be on you, it's also going to be on your partnerships or partners. Hey, there's going to be some Geminis that may see a potential marriage partner come into their life. Other Geminis set up a business partnership, and that's very actively being set up through December. You could also be finishing off a writing project. That's kind of a direct translation of a full moon in Gemini in your first house. You finish off a writing project. You tie up, for some Geminis, maybe doing a whirlwind presentation around your local area, city, state, province. Now, when we look at that new moon in Sagittarius, again, that is your 7th house, and it's opposite to you, Gemini. So this puts a new start with regards to what? A marriage partnership, a business partnership, clients, a whole big new start for you. I see this as very positive. It is going to involve some back and forth and negotiations because it is an opposition. But I'm just thinking there could be some Geminis that see a potential new marriage partner waltz into their life in December, in particular around the new moon in Sagittarius around the 19th of December. Now, you are going to be having Uranus come into your sign. I mean, it has dipped into your sign already, Gemini, but it really won't be to the last 3 days or so of April next year that we have Uranus dipping back in around 0 degrees of Gemini and then making its way through your sign, Gemini, enlightening you, shaking things up. And shaking things up doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? It could bring some freedom for you. So remember that, Gemini, as you're going through different things of maybe setting up partnerships, maybe developing a marriage partnership here, maybe getting married even, that there's going to be further enlightenments, further freedoms that will come your way. Uranus in your sign does not have to be bad. The only thing Uranus asks is this: if you don't need this and you know you don't need it, let it go. If you need to break free of something, it's coming in for you, Gemini, in spades, but not really probably till the end of April time period. You're probably going to feel it. You can feel it coming, but no, it's coming, Gemini. Well, enjoy this full moon in your sign, whatever it illuminates, Gemini. And that new moon, I hope it brings in a partnership, business, or marriage for you, or new clients. Take care, Gemini. So Cancer, that full moon in Gemini falls in your 12th house, and it features hidden things, hidden places, maybe things that you've been hiding for yourself that you need to take a look at. Maybe Marie Kondo type activity is needed. And certainly that new moon in Sagittarius falls in the opposite, and it's your 6th house of day-to-day job, your health, or small animals. So when we start off with that full moon in Gemini, It says to me, I got this strong impression there's going to be some Cancers that take on a writing project, but this is going to be sort of a long-term writing project, or even going out and presenting to people. But this is the preparation stages, where some Cancers will go through a preparation stage of making this decision of, I want to write something here, but I want to write something that's really going to help people, be nurturing for people, and provide some compassion. And you enter into a writing project where you start collecting the information. So it might be an illumination of this as opposed to an ending of it. But it could provide an ending to, say, some kind of writing project. It could be sales and commerce too that have been going on behind the scenes. So we're still talking about the 12th house here, where you see that, okay, I'm on the verge here of wrapping this all up now. You still can't bring it out, but you are ending this writing project that has been behind the scenes. Or maybe it's something that is secret, literally. And there may be some Cancers that have to keep something secret, but they're finishing off, and it's something to do with communications or writing. Or contracts, for that matter, too. Maybe there's some secret negotiations going on with regards to contracts that some Cancers are handling. Well, that wraps it up around the 4th of December at that full moon. Now, when we look at that new moon in Sagittarius, like I mentioned, it's in your 6th house, Cancer. And so this is a new start regarding your health. Maybe you make that new start. Maybe this is when you actually make your New Year's resolution to take better care of your health. This involves your mental health as well as, your physical health of, say, nutrition or exercising. You could also have somebody step in here to help you out, because Jupiter does rule that Sagittarius new moon. So there may be an advisor or an expert of some sort, or even a teacher that comes along to help you make your health better. Now, the 6th house is also your day-to-day job. If you don't work, it's what you do day to day. Typically, it is what you work at. Well, there's some new start here for you. And the new start could have something to do with a foreign connection, a foreign person. It could have something to do with a new start in legal matters, publishing. Yeah, certainly if you are someone who has wrapped up a writing project at the beginning of December, that new moon falling in your 6th house in Sagittarius could bring an opportunity for you to publish it. And publishing it doesn't mean you have to go to a publisher. It could just be that your company says, okay, let's get this published. Let's get it printed and get it out to everybody in the company. That activity can happen here too. But that new moon could also bring in some opportunities for some Cancers to travel for work, and in particular, to travel for work overseas. Maybe you're going to be given some opportunities to present information that you've been gathering that is going to be important overseas. And part of that new moon is you traveling there to do it. Maybe you go on a circuit overseas to present whatever it is that you wrote about. Now, remember, Cancer, you have Jupiter, beneficial, good luck, Santa Claus who wants to give you presents all the time, in your sign, Cancer. And it will remain there almost to the 1st of July next year. So you've got big supportive energy for you to grow. Jupiter's all about growth. Grow in compassion, grow in nurturing. But that is also to be, directed inward, to have great compassion for yourself and great nurturing of yourself. That's an ongoing theme here, right? Up until July of 2026. But certainly Jupiter can bring in your sign beneficial teachers, beneficial experts of any sort. And it really just helps you grow in a very positive way. So take advantage of that energy. I mean, certainly Jupiter in Cancer, generally speaking, which is ruled by the moon, can favor things like motherhood. So there may be some Cancers that get pregnant over this time period and give birth with the whole Jupiter in Cancer. It can certainly promote that in folks that want to do that. Now, when we look at that Mercury going direct, right? It will be in Scorpio. It trined your sign the first week of December. And of course, then it goes on to Sagittarius. But that first week of December could bring in some very important communications, going back to that whole motherhood thing. The first week with that Mercury in Scorpio trining you, Cancer, and aspecting your fifth house, there's going to be some Cancers that could get good news about being pregnant. Or they give good news about, I've given birth. But it can also be given birth to a creative project. And that creative project for some Cancers could hark back to November, where it didn't even seem to be able to take off or gain any ground. Here, the first week, with Mercury going direct, trining you, it's going to be really, really positive with regards to anything creative in your life. And children could work out to be very positive for you, certainly if you have them. And you may even get invitations coming that first week to have some fun during the holiday season. So look out for those, Cancer. Take care of yourself. So Leo, that full moon in Gemini sextiles you. So those are opportunities coming your way. Where? Coming your way through friends, coming your way through groups that you belong to. If you've got your own business, opportunities to potentially make more money by communicating more, maybe by socializing more. Gemini is a very social sign. And so it could just be given, you could be given an opportunity to socialize with friends and groups to make more money if you've got your own business. Generally speaking, though, this is going to give you opportunities to be a little bit of a social butterfly. You may have invitations come in from friends and even groups that you belong to participate in maybe some holiday celebrations that are going to be really nice for you. You yourself could be putting together some kind of social event that culminates around that 4th of December, and you send out all your invitations. That would be a nice way of using it, by the way, Leo. And of course, Leo, you do like to have fun, but you do like to be the star of the show. You may get some opportunities to do that. You may get some opportunities to, I'm thinking, either communicate or provide some written work that's beneficial. Maybe you do some friends a favor here, or vice versa. Maybe some friends do some favors for you with regarding to a writing project at that full moon. When we look at that new moon in Sagittarius, that's a fellow fire sign, so it trines you. That's just beaming favorable energy, favorable new energy to your 5th house. Whoa. I mean, when I looked at this, I thought, wow, there are going to be some Leos that are going to have this new creative project come in that could have something to do with a foreign element. So that's foreign people or foreign things. It could have something to do with travel. It could have something to do with a legal matter. It could have something to do with anything to do with your future. Sagittarius is very future oriented. It's even taking risks. And Leo, you definitely have a fire under you when it comes to taking risks. You're not averse to taking risks in your life. But there may be something very favorable that turns up here for you around that 19th of December that provides a new opportunity for your future that is highly creative. It may involve a new love in your life. I mean, that's the other thing you could have is a new love in your life or a new development of your love. It could also have a new development with regards to children in your life. Having fun is certainly going to be, or smiling. I'm getting this picture of, a Leo the lion having a big smile on his face at that new moon in Sagittarius around the 19th of December. You're going to have something to smile about, Leo. And it's going to be something to do with love, children, a creative project, and having fun. You also are going to have, for the first couple weeks, in this same area of life, Mars, Venus, Mercury, all trining you in Sagittarius and activating that 5th house. Lots of opportunities, Leo, for you in December to have new starts with having fun, new starts with, I think, a big creative project of some sort. And I suggest that it's going to have something to do with maybe a friend or a group you belong to or you know about giving you this writing project or speaking project or both at the beginning of December. So look to see, Leo, what comes in towards that first week of December, because it's going to play out big time for you around the 19th of December as a whole new start. Take care, Leo. So Virgo, you have the full moon as well as the new moon squaring your sign. Now, it's not all going to be bad for you. There's always support from something else in your horoscope, of course, right? All signs are going to get squares at some point through the 12 months. So this just happens to be your month. And squares don't have to be bad. They certainly can provide challenges, but they don't mean the outcome's going to be bad. It just means that you've got to overcome something before you can get what you want. So that first full moon in Gemini features communications and features your 10th house. I would say that anything you have to do with regarding your career that involves writing, communicating, or presenting, that you take great care to go over it all. Let's just say you're doing a proposal that's due around the 4th of December, or you're given a proposal around that time. It says to me that maybe this proposal is going to provide a bit of a challenge for you, where you maybe have to put more work in it, or maybe consult other people in the job that you are in to make it all happen. But it does to me say writing project, especially as you, Virgo, rule things like information that's important. So it may be that, and I'm getting this as an intuition, finding the important information to put into that writing project provides a challenge for you. That might be it, but that you still achieve it. Now, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. That's going to be squaring your opposite to the 10th house, which is the 4th house. And the 4th house represents your family, your mother, but it also represents your home. Now, remember the first 2 weeks of December, that house, the 4th house, is going to be very active. That's Mars, Venus, and Mercury are all going to be in there activating your 4th house of home and family. So this says to me there could be a lot of communications the first 2 weeks of December regarding your family for whatever reason. Now, the communications could be that requires you to take some action here, or you have to step in. That square could say, well, you need to solve some issues here for the family, for your mother. But it could translate into your home too. Maybe something comes up in your physical home that you think, oh no, I've got to handle that. Now, it being Sagittarius says to me it could be a legal matter of some sort comes up that you just got to handle it. You're going to have a lot of support, especially those first 2 weeks of December, to take action and really work with people. Remember, both these moons in December are in mutable signs. That means as long as you bend, things should work out okay. I mean, I'm thinking that for some folks, there may be somebody in the family, perhaps your mother, that her future, that's Sagittarius, has to be reconsidered by the family. And all of you are getting together to say, okay, what do we do here with this family member for her future? And it's not all straightforward, but you all work together to make it happen. The home, something could come up where you've just got to handle something with regards to the future of your home, right? That's going back to the Sagittarius influence. And maybe it's you negotiating a better insurance for your home to make sure that it's insured for the future. Or maybe your insurance comes up at this time and you have to consider, do you want to still use that? Travel could be featured here too. Certainly if you are going to be traveling to your family or traveling with your family, make sure you check everything out, I would say the first 2 weeks of December, to make sure everything is in order, because there could be some challenges with regards to that too. Now, the positive side is we are going to have Uranus. That's going to be around 29 degrees because it's gone retrograde in Taurus. Actually, it's about 28, 29 degrees of Taurus during this month of December and onwards. Well, that's a fellow Earth sign. So that means it trines you, Virgo, and it trines your 9th house. That 9th house is ruled in the natural zodiac by Sagittarius. To me, this is a tie-in with that new moon in a very, very positive way. It says to me, whatever challenges you overcome regarding a home or a family member, that you're going to work it out, that something is going to turn around here for you, especially if you've got something around the 28th, 29th degree of Virgo, like say you've got your sun or your ascendant, well, that Uranus is going to be favorably trining it. And I do know someone who's got their sun around that degree point. So where there seems to be a challenge, you're going to have something step in here to say, we're going to turn that around. Uranus is going to turn it around. It's going to break you free. Now, the 9th house has to do with legal matters. So for some Virgos, you may be set free from a legal matter that originally seemed there was going to be no way out, that it was just going to be a challenge. It can also turn around, let's say travel. Remember I talked about travel, maybe with your family might be challenged. Well, out of the blue, something turns around with that Uranus trining your 9th house. This can also be for those folks that are publishing, where you thought you couldn't publish, Uranus steps in and say, we've changed our minds, we want to publish that for you. For other Virgos that are, say, going for an advanced degree, that Uranus coming in at 28, 29 degrees of Taurus could give you the green light to go ahead with it, or to finish it off for that matter. Maybe you're hearing from the last of your committee members and they say, well done. Take care, Virgo. So Libra, that full moon in Gemini trines you because you are both air signs, and it involves your 9th house. So this is a wrap up in some legal matter, Libra, in a very favorable way. Trines are always favorable. There'll be some Librans that are literally ending some travel of some sort, or something to do with maybe a sales or commerce project that they've been working hard on with a foreign person or even a foreign country comes to a conclusion at this time. Certainly the Libra part of it, you Libra, suggests some kind of diplomatic type thing, maybe some contract, legal matter of some sort is wrapped up at this time. It's done and dusted. And the Gemini, of course, talks to contracts, writing projects, communications of any sort are wrapped up at this time in a very, very favorable way. I mean, this could also be, say, for those Librans that are planning on doing holiday travel in December. After all the negotiating back and forth, you see the end of it around that 4th of December, where you say, okay, I've got all our travel sorted out. It's taken a little bit of effort, but I've got it all done here, and it all comes together for you. When we look at that new moon in Sagittarius, well, it sextiles your sign Libra, which means it brings you opportunities. Where does it bring you opportunities? It brings you opportunities to the 3rd house. And the 3rd house does represent things like writing projects, sales and commerce. It features your siblings, your neighbors. It can be presenting. It can be short distance travel of some sort. And maybe that's presented to you at this time, that you have the opportunity to maybe do some kind of presenting with regards to a diplomacy type activity that involves you within, within your own city or your own state or province. That may be something new that comes up for you. But there's this combination of the Sagittarian part, which rules the ninth house, which is long distance travel. So you could have both coming in for you, where you're going to be traveling around your state or province or city, but you're also given the opportunity to perhaps go overseas as well. Maybe one is going to be overseas travel for pleasure, and maybe the other is going to be with regards to your work, but it could be both. Certainly you have Mars, Venus, and Mercury all in Sagittarius, sextiling that third house the first 2 weeks. So I think for those Librans that are negotiating future travel of some sort, more for, say, business, the first 2 weeks could be important in terms of the negotiation. That could be setting the contract in place. And then it's all put in place by the 19th of December where everybody signs off on it. That could happen for you here too. On a worldwide stage, for those leaders that have the influence of Libra in their chart, this could be a new treatise. This could be a new effort, very positive effort with regards to everyone cooperating to put a treatise or a diplomatic type activity in place. Now, when we have Pluto all of December at 2 degrees of Aquarius, because that's a fellow air sign, it trines anything in Libra at 2 degrees. So certainly if you've got your sun or your ascendant, say, around 2 degrees of Libra, you're going to have favorable energy pulsating your way to transform yourself in some way, right? And remember, this is a once in a lifetime. Pluto takes about 250 years to go around the sun. And so this is a once in a lifetime beaming your way in a super positive way, Libra. There's going to be some early born Librans or early ascendant degree Librans that are going to see some serious power come their way and serious transformation that is given to them. And this serious transformation may come through something like social media. That's very much ruled by Aquarius. But so is humanitarian types of activities. So Libra, I would say that's, to me, featured is certainly humanitarian type activities. If you're seeing your future ahead, potentially involving that, you're going to have great success. Take care, Libra. So Scorpio, that full moon in Gemini falls in your 8th house. The new moon falls in your 2nd house. So these are money houses. So this month of December involves money of some sort. Money you invest, money you save, money you retire with, and money that you make. So we start off with that full moon in Gemini on the 4th of December in your 8th house. Now also at this time, you're going to have in your 2nd house a big activation because you're going to have Mars, Venus, and Mercury all in Sagittarius at that same time. So there's going to be a lot of activity with regards to you making money, maybe even making money in a new job. This full moon, though, is going to activate the 8th house itself. But remember, at a full moon, the moon is going to be in one house and the sun is going to be in the other. So the moon will be in your 8th house, featuring your 8th house, but there's going to be big activity in your 2nd house because the sun is going to be there. So there's some connection with regards to the job that you do. Your value is probably going to go up, the money that you make. And this could be you doing a lot of negotiation for a new job, for new money. This could also have you on a more superficial level the first 2 weeks, buying more possessions. But your value could be going up here, Scorpio, and you could be making more money, just generally speaking. Let's get back to this full moon. So the full moon highlighting the 8th house, when I looked at this, I said some kind of communications or information is going to come in regarding Scorpio's investments, Scorpio's mortgage, Scorpio's credit cards. Now, the full moon suggests that maybe you need to take a close look at how you're spending your money on credit cards, and that maybe you need to set up a plan. This would be the time to do it. That's the 4th of December. With all the activity in your other house, your second house of where you make money, this could just be having a lot of activity of you looking at, well, how much money do I really have? And how can I leverage that money to pay off some of my credit cards? I'm just saying this as a for instance. But there may be some Scorpios that decide to retire at this time. And you pull that trigger of the 8th house. The 8th house is where you hold your 401ks, your investments, all your retirement type things are going to be 8th house. And so that could be it for some Scorpios. For other Scorpios, you may decide that I'm going to cash in some of my investments here for whatever reason. Maybe you want to go on a trip towards the latter part of December with your family and or friends. And you say, you know what, I'm going to cash in some of this money. And that's what you decide to do at the full moon. You communicate, that's the Gemini part, with wherever your investments are being held, that's saying you want to cash these in and bring them into your bank account to use. Now, the other thing that full moon in Gemini can light up is your psychological self. And so there could be some Scorpios deciding, even though it's a full moon, that you need to do something about your psychological self. And that after contemplating for some time who might be a good therapist for yourself, you pull the trigger on a certain therapist and communicate with them saying, I'd like to work with you. Great thing to do as well. Now, that new moon in Sagittarius, as I mentioned, falls in your second house. And that second house suggests that you may start a new job here. Now, you can start literally a new job in a whole different company, but this could be a new start with regards to maybe there's a subsidiary that's overseas, right? Because this is a Sagittarian, featuring foreign people, foreign things. And you get the opportunity to work with a subsidiary overseas of the same company. That can happen here too. But certainly it suggests that making money could involve foreign people, foreign things, and travel. So you may also have this thrown in too. Some Scorpios where you can travel as well as make your money, right? In a new job of some sort. Yeah, and I mean, supporting you for the first week of December, Mercury, which as we know is going direct now, is going to be between 20 and 28 degrees of Scorpio. So for those Scorpios that say have their sun or their ascendant, or an important part where there's a lot of planets around 20 to 28 degrees of Scorpio, that first week could be very important for you to reach out, make communications with regards to any aspect of money. That's getting a new job, that's getting new investments potentially, but maybe leveraging those investments or accessing, when you retire, accessing investments in that, especially if you have worked in different countries like I have. It's a little bit of an effort to coordinate all those and bank accounts associated with them. So that could be an activity that would be excellent for you that first week of December, which ties into that full moon in Gemini, right? Now, remember too that Jupiter in Cancer is a fellow water sign, and it is trining your 9th house. So really all this year, all the rest of this year up until the 1st of July, next year, 2026, Jupiter is beaming positive energy with regards to what? Your 9th house. This favors travel for you. It favors anything foreign, and it favors anything with regards to meaning in life. And that's the one thing I would take, Scorpio, is watch for things coming in. Now, it's going to come probably in the form of a teacher or an advisor who dispenses information in a nurturing, compassionate way that helps you be illuminated regarding this meaning in life for yourself. This is a great energy to have for you for many months here to come. Take advantage of it, Scorpio. All right, I hope you fared okay, Scorpio, in the retrograde that was in your sign and Sagittarius, but that is now over. Know that the actual out of shadow period happens on the 16th of December, and that, of course, is going to be in Sagittarius, just before your new moon in Sagittarius. Take care, Scorpio. All right, everybody. That's my wrap up for December. Again, I'm wishing everybody lots of positive, happy energy for this month of December. Get out and enjoy yourselves over this holiday season. I think a lot of people will have at least days off. Some people have a week off. Plan something fun for yourself, and plan something that really nurtures you. That's what I'm thinking here. Plan something that really nurtures you. But do socialize. You know, we've got two social moons, the Gemini for sure, but also Sagittarius. These are both mutable signs. They can bend, they can change their minds, they can be helped to change their minds, but they do like to socialize and have fun. All right, everybody, take care of yourself. If you do want your chart done, this might be a good time to do it just prior to the new year starting. I will be putting together my 2026 forecast soon for each of the individual signs. Stay tuned for that. All right. Take care. Lots of love, and bye for now.